I'm Lisa Haisha. Welcome to the Legacy Interviews. Today on my couch is Gianna, Gragnani. She taught me how to remember that name. She has been working on the Blazing Borders website and my Soul Blazing site and doing such beautiful, amazing work. And I met her through my producer, my project manager, my right arm, James Reed, who speaks so highly of her, and spoke of her journey where she started with her mom killing herself, committing suicide, and then dealing with that through drugs and alcohol for over 5 years, then coming out of it and being this amazing woman of service who shifted her legacy and shifted her life course. So we're going to discuss today, if you're going through something strong, how you could shift gears and create a life that's worth living. So enter Gianni. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here too. I've heard so much about you. So I'm first of all so appreciative of all the amazing work you've done for my nonprofits. You have such a great talent with websites and design, and I'm honored that you're choosing to work with us.
Thank you. My company is dedicated to doing very socially positive work. So we strive to do websites that we believe will affect the world in a more positive way.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your story from what I heard? So how did you grow up and what happened with your mom? And
so I grew up in a small town outside of Fresno, California. My family are farmers. They own a very large family farm, and my mother had struggled with lupus, but she didn't know she had lupus, and we didn't know then that it was a mental and a physical disorder. We didn't realize that it caused things like people to commit suicide and bipolar disorder and all these things. And we didn't really know as much about bipolar disorder. It wasn't as commonly accepted as it is now. So she struggled a really long time when I was growing up with that. And I think even deeper than that was probably her perspective on the world. And when about 3 weeks before my 17th birthday, she shot herself in the heart. My mom definitely, I wouldn't say that it was only that. She really believed that the world was an evil place. She believed that there wasn't a lot here that was good and that heaven was her salvation. We did a lot of religious flip-flopping as kids. I have at this point been baptized 7 times in 5 religions.
By your choice?
Well, I mean, some by my choice, at least 2 by my choice. Okay. The others were really just growing up and being, this is how we pray, this is the religion we're in now, and now we do this, and now we don't do that.
So your mother kept changing religions?
Yes. She really, she really, really believed that what she had was the spiritual crisis, but that it was a little bit one-sided in the sense that she thought she could get it out of the book, but maybe not have to do a lot of work here and here. And I think that we all, at this point, know that that's really here and here is where it's at. That our perspectives shift our reality. They create our reality. So what my mom had was a very, very dark perspective of the world where she woke up every day and thought everything was evil. And we weren't allowed to watch any mainstream television. I didn't watch TV till I was 21. I didn't watch a whole episode of a show till I was 21 years old, 22. No mainstream music. I grew up all on old-fashioned, anything that was oldies and older than oldies, Billie Holiday, all that good stuff, big bands, Glenn Miller. That was really how I grew up. And she saw that as a better time, a less evil time, that what was now was not, something that she really wanted to be a part of. And I think that that's why I definitely chose to live the life that I live now, in the sense that you know, it was easy for me to explore different religions, and I love different religions. I love to hear what people believe. I've even gone and been with the Red Sao tribe and the Black Hmong tribe in Vietnam, in Sapa.
What was that like?
That was amazing.
Tell me a little bit about it, or what their rituals are. I love that too. I explore all over the world, and I went to Peru and studied with shamans. I went and studied with Sufis in Cappadocia.
And I don't think that I could ever get bored of hearing new beliefs.
I know, right? Right? I think it's fascinating because I think there's truth in all of them. And it's really your religion should be yourself, your soul, you know, listening, nature, just being with one, so everyone has something to offer.
And the Red Sao tribe is really beautiful. I mean, they're so good-natured that, like, people had come in and told the girls, oh, do you want to see the city? And they kidnapped them. You know, and the girls were like, oh, yeah, I want to go see the city. I mean, that's how good-natured those people are. And they raise their children as a community. It's very, very community-oriented. They believe that their ancestors are watching over them. And so when they pray to their ancestors. They do not wear wedding rings. They show their marital status by their eyebrows, how they pluck their eyebrows. So...
what happens if they pluck too much or something,
well,
and then they get a divorce? Oh my God!
If they don't have eyebrows,
oh
yeah,
my God.
That's
so they can't remarry.
That means something else.
Remarry, then they pencil it in.
I don't know if they remarried. They do. I did help sew wedding garments, and you know, you get married in a certain time. You spend a year making all the wedding garments and sewing all the beads on them, and then a year later you're going to get married, and the whole town is going to come, and the village, they're going to kill an animal, and you're going to have a big giant party, and everybody's pretty much invited. The clothing, the tradition of how they are and what they make is really beautiful, very vibrant, and really just great-hearted people. When, you know, they had me for dinner, and we made beans and rice, and it was fancy for them because we didn't eat off newspaper that night. We ate off bamboo leaves, and that was nice. That was fancier. And I don't think I've encountered such happy people. You know, they don't have as much, and they're definitely way happier.
So what have you learned from studying so many religions? Do you have a favorite? Like, what's the difference between Catholicism or Judaism or one of these tribal religions? What's the thing that ties them all together, and what's the one thing that differentiates them?
Well, I think, you know, and I did, beyond the religions, I also studied what Joseph Campbell taught. And Joseph Campbell taught us that pretty much all the religions are pretty much the same. I mean, we have different semantics of those religions, and we have different languages of those religions and different cultural backgrounds of the religions, but pretty much everybody believes you shouldn't participate in incest, you shouldn't kill people, you shouldn't steal from your neighbors. You know, I think that all those are in place, but when it comes to, and I think that's what people look at, oh, do you pray to Jesus or not pray to Jesus? I don't really look at it that way as much as I do the rituals of the religions and what they're focusing on in their message. Buddhism is going to tell you that you can reduce your suffering by not having as much desire. Kabbalah is going to tell you that that the root of problems is your ego, and that anything that separates us from another person is our ego. Anytime, whether we think I'm better than them or I'm less than them, that's what separates us from them. And that could even be that, hey, I can't be around them because I'm more spiritual than them. That's ego. So all the tools together, I like all the different tools together.
So you like that you've had that exposure to so many religions.
Oh,
it wasn't confusing, it was more an opening for you?
No, and I still search out new religions and new ways of thought. I've been studying Kabbalah now. I'd studied Buddhism for 2 years in school. Got out of school, and I had a boyfriend who was really into Hinduism, read the Bhagavad Gita, and did Vedanta for a while. But, you know, recently I've been studying Kabbalah, which is Judaism, the more, I'd say the more mystical part of Judaism, and I love that perspective. And really, for me, it's about the perspective shifts. How much what do I see in there that's real? I think a lot of people really relate to Buddhism because it's a way of life and it is less religious feeling than it is just, these are great perspectives whether you're Buddhist or not. And I have a lot of that in Kabbalah as well, you know.
So if you don't mind, if you would take me back to when your mom committed suicide, how did that affect you? Then how did you hang on to these religions? Or if you had all this religious background or spiritual studies under your belt, why did you go into the alcohol?
I didn't then.
Okay, so explain that. And then when you did go, what happened where this religion or spirituality didn't work, where you chose alcohol and then getting out of alcohol? How did you get out of it? For anyone out there who's suffering or going through a hard time, went through something bad and then went to alcohol, I have several clients that just, you know, went back to alcohol and back in rehab. And so
I think that really I didn't deal with anything because, you know, you wake up, you go to bed and everything is normal, and then you wake up and your mother's dead, and that's just your life. And obviously a lot of people have different opinions about that because...
How did you find out?
I found my aunt had told me in the morning.
Okay.
And I was not living with my mother at the time because she had kicked me out of the house in one of her... She said that I had had sex with a devil worshiper in the front yard, which when my mom died, I was a virgin. And this is how she viewed
How old
people.
were you?
I was 16 when she kicked me out of the house. And then I went and lived with my aunt and my cousins. And I had called her the night before she died. And I told her that I wanted to see her and to mend things. And she asked me to come home. And I thought that it was just too much because of what had been going on. And I wanted to meet and exchange Christmas gifts and see her. And I told her, let's talk about it then, and maybe I will come home. And I never got that opportunity because obviously she died that night. And I felt a lot of guilt for that, especially because my 9-year-old sister was the one who found her. And that didn't go well for my sister. And I really felt like not only had I not stopped my mom from killing herself, which I had in the past before.
Oh, you had?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought...
So this wasn't just out of the blue, she did it, you were...
No, this was the third time
Okay.
that I'm aware of that I experienced. So not only had I let my mom die, I felt like I had also ruined my sister's life. And that was a lot as a 17-year-old to cope with and deal with. And honestly, I don't remember the first year. I don't even remember it. It's just gone. I don't remember. My memory kind of stops when we're by the coffin. I don't remember being graveside after. And I don't remember... I remember when my grandfather died. I remember the moment when he died, but I don't remember the funeral and all these things that happened 9 months later. So I really, and people will always tell me from high school, hey, you remember the time you did? And I'm like, no.
I have a lot of that too. I have a lot of
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I definitely was not on a spiritual journey right out of the gate. I had a lot of suffering.
You only have one sister?
I have a sister and I have a brother.
Okay. Where was your brother during all this?
My brother was only 3 days old, I think. When my mom died. So he had just been born. And he was my father's son. So it wasn't my mother's child.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I really thought about it. And I went to school. My main goal was survival, and that's that fight or flight. My main goal was to get out of where I was, to get away from the past, the ghosts that I was experiencing in my life, that were haunting me, that I felt like I couldn't get out of. I went to school. I went to Loyola Marymount University. I was always really good in school. I always got very good grades, and that learning was easy for me. And from there, I very quickly, I became a model. I got a fake ID. I dated a guy who was, had lived here his whole life, went to Beverly Hills High. I was very connected with celebrities, and I was living that life. And while I was living that life and, bowling downstairs in Aaron Spelling's house, I wasn't really thinking about my spiritual enlightenment that much. And, the real thing, I was using whatever I was using at the time to really to deal with the pain. And it wasn't until things got so bad that, I would end up in the hospital. And I'd say all through that period, I still had the same mentality as my mother. Like, she passed that on to me by having it. And they say that when you're raised with a parent who's depressed, I guess you feel like 60 or 70% of that depression. And I think that that's very true, because I woke up every day and I also thought the world was an evil place. And I also wanted to die every day. And really, until I died, it was just about, how much living I could do until I died. And I looked forward to that day. I didn't. It's kind of funny because not funny, haha, funny, but I definitely don't relate to the person I was. And if you told me, that I would be the person I am today, then I doubt that I would have ever believed you. I really just thought I would die before I was ever 30. And,
Did you ever try to take your own life? Or put yourself in situations?
I did. And that was really the goal in the end. And that's how I got in the hospital. And
How did you try to do it with alcohol?
No, I didn't. No, it was more severe than that. But my boyfriend had come and kicked in my back door and found me. And he took me to a hospital, and he told my whole family, what the situation was. And there is where my recovery and my everything else started. And even though I had been studying Buddhism in school and stuff, and it did help me a lot, it wasn't really until I got there that I faced what I couldn't face before. And I really dealt with my mother's death for probably the first time ever in my life. And when I was doing that, that's when I really started. I came out, I read The Art of Happiness. It was essential to me. Power of Now, all of the books that we, most of us love if you're in that world. And started studying a little bit more of the Hinduism, started going to Vedanta. LA has a great church. Vedanta was Christianity, Buddhism, and Hinduism. So you could go every week and hear a different sermon, which is awesome, and I loved. And it became about my health, and it became about my perspective. And I had an amazing sponsor who really helped instill the self-esteem that I don't feel like I ever had, that nobody thought that was important to teach me growing up. And it was hard. I mean, even the look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself. I was like, so but I don't.
Hard. Yeah,
I don't love myself. Now, I love myself,
Did you do that exercise?
I did do that exercise, and I would do it, I would do also a list every night of esteemable things that I had done during the day. And at first, it was just like, well, I didn't go to jail today. And I didn't, I went to a meeting, and it was very minimal. And then it became like, and then I helped these people, and then I did this thing, and then I volunteered here, and then I started the Angels Flight program, and then I all of a sudden, my little tiny list, and she used to tell me I had to write 3 things. Oh, it became like 20, and I still do it every once in a while, on a good day.
Beautiful.
I think it's important to remember, and I learned what was important to my happiness. You always hear, what would make you happy? What would make you happy? And I sat down and I would write in my journal every night, sometimes 5, 10, 15 pages. That's how much I would write. I had a lot to get out. And I found that when I wrote, my thoughts couldn't loop because I was forced to define them verbally, by giving them definition. It made them concrete. So I stopped having the same thoughts over and over with no solutions. And I really, it's like had the thought and moved on. And I spent probably a week writing what made me happy. And I had a list of like 100 things probably. Okay, this makes me happy. This is pleasure. That's not happiness. And I decided there was really only 3 things if I took away all the little mini lists. And that was, 1, feeling like this world was a better place because I was in it. Going to bed at night and feeling like the world was a better place because I lived today made me truly happy. It made me excited to wake up in the morning. 2, feeling love for who I really was and not who people thought me to be. Now we would say the Facebook you.
Yes.
It's not that person. No, feeling like it was okay for me to stumble and fall, and it was okay for me to make mistakes, and that people still like profoundly loved me. That was really important to me. And the 3rd thing was that I had become very aware that life knew better than me what was good for me. And there were these moments that maybe it felt like the worst thing in the world was happening to me. And yet it ended up being a lot of times the best thing that happened to me. My greatest disappointments, my greatest heartaches, that I would look back and say, oh, thank God. Thank God I don't date that person. Thank God I'm not in that job. Thank God I'm not in this situation. And those became, I guess I became, I had a trust for life that I didn't have before.
So can you give us 3 tips of someone who's watching this of how they could get to that place if they're just getting out of drugs or they're in a dark place? How can they get out of it in a productive way and
I think
see the light?
And I think more than I don't even think it has to do with drugs and alcohol, because I think it's really just people. And I think that people, whether or not they do that, it doesn't mean that, like, there are plenty of people that I know that don't do that have a very broken perspective. And really, it's our perspective. And shifting your perspective is not really an easy thing. Typically, when we shift our perspective, we have to go through something very traumatic to shift our perspective, like what I went through. I don't think that that's necessary. You know, there's programs that you can go through to have perspective shifts, but anytime you're seeking out something, you're gonna find that something. And it's really important to know what makes you happy. If you don't know what makes you happy, if you don't know what you want, you can't move towards it. It's the same thing that I will tell people when they break up. It's because they're like, what do I do now? And the thoughts are going crazy. Think about what you want. Think about your dream situation, and then you'll know what you need to do to be in that dream situation. Somewhere, somehow.
Do you have steps that you do? So here's your dream situation. How do you achieve that? So if this person wants to get out of depression, maybe get out of a marriage or get out of an ugly situation or actually get off welfare, whatever it is, how do they, okay, I want to at least make $3,000 a month. How do they do that?
Well, definitely, if you knew that that was your goal, it'd be a lot easier to achieve. When you don't know that that's your goal, it's almost impossible. When you're saying every person, doesn't matter what religion, what country, what nationality, everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy, and everybody wants to be loved.
Yeah, but how, what steps can, love is everything.
But
they want to be able to accept
how they're happy.
Yes.
Totally different.
But can you give me a few steps like that you did or someone did to get to that place? Whatever it is, whatever they
I did
want.
a lot more than a few, but I would definitely say knowing that what made me happy was feeling the world was a better place because I was in it, was what led me to take all the actions that I would need to take to feel that way. I knew that being of service actually made me genuinely happy. And from that, I can definitely tell that selfishness won't make me happy. Money is not going to make me happy unless it's an instrument to achieve greater good. But as long as I spend every day achieving a greater good, not for me, but for the world, then I would be happy, and I would know that. And as long as I spent time cultivating my spiritual side and finding new ways to see the world. And really, I always say it's always about finding a perspective of the world that we're okay with. You can't just have this hate of the universe or this hate and resentment of people or things and think that you can be happy. You definitely have to find a way to look at the world in which you're okay with it. And I think this is why I really love Kabbalah, and I sometimes I look at it like story time. They have the opinion that in the beginning the world was just water. It was just vessels and light, right? And the vessels had needs, and the light wanted to give the vessels everything they wanted. And they did. And the vessels weren't happy. And the light's goal was just to make them truly, truly happy. And it realized that unless the vessels felt like they had earned it or that they deserved it, they wouldn't hold on to whatever they were given. So in an effort to make them truly happy, the light creates the opponent. And it's something that the vessels can go against to feel like they earn and they deserve what they have. And then this is what makes them truly happy. So in looking at the world, a lot of time we look at the world like, oh, why did this happen to me? And I deserve more, or I deserve better. And in truth, we're not entitled to anything. But I really look at those things, those struggles, as a blessing. Like, my opponent is my greatest teacher. And the moments in my life, even my mother's death, which I would never want that to happen, and I don't want anybody to have to understand what I went through, because you'd have to go through what I went through. But all the things that have been my greatest disappointments and my greatest tragedies, I got to choose how I was going to turn them into something better. If I turn that situation into a better situation, now I don't have to feel so resentful and hateful over that situation. And that's anything. I don't look at it. My mother was just a human. She's just a woman who was having a health problem that was very bad. She was a nurse. She knew what was going to happen to her. Her organs were already starting to shut down. Mentally, she's not. Her hair is falling out. There's so many things. Like, would I think it's better to see my mother suffer? Because people suffer with this
I went
until
through
they
my
die.
mom's suffering, and it was so terrible the last 3 months watching her go through that.
And it's would I have preferred that than this? I don't know. Yeah. And in that way, I have to trust her. I have to trust life. I have to trust that I came into this world choosing the life that I have. And whenever we feel like we didn't choose it, that's when we're in trouble. When we know that we choose this life, and every moment, every day, we're choosing it. Every day, happiness is a choice. Happiness, well, everybody will say they want to be happy, but happiness does not just pick the lock of your front door, come down and sit down next to you on the couch and be like, Lisa, I'm here, and I'm here to stay forever. I know you've been waiting. That is not the way it works. You need to write a letter to happiness and invite happiness over. Dear happiness, I would really love it if you could come for dinner.
And same for love. Same for love. For marriage and friendships, you have to choose love every day, because it's so easy to just go into pushing someone away when your buttons are pushed, or so easy to just walk away. You have to choose it every day. Self-growth, you have to choose it every day. When you're tempted to say, no, I could see myself going, I'm choosing to stay on course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess there's this distinction of when you realize this, it changes everything. And I once had a woman tell me happiness was a choice. And I was very young. And I always feel like I wish I could find this woman so I could apologize. I started crying and I told her, what you're saying is so ignorant. Do you think all the people who are unhappy, they're choosing to be unhappy? Like, you really think that I choose to be this unhappy? And she was like, yes. And it was like the woman reached across the table and slapped me in my face. And I don't know how many times I've told this to other people. Yes, you are choosing it. It is a choice. And everything that we look at, we have a choice to look at it different. And if you feel like you can't, then maybe that's an exercise that you have to do as a person. And really, like, okay, this bad thing happened.
Regardless of what you're going through, it's a choice.
Yeah. I'm okay with all my breakups. I'm okay with my tragedies. I'm okay with the loss of every I don't ever get fired, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
I'm okay with everything that happened to me. I'm okay with my life because my life made me who I am today, and I helped it by speeding along that process, by writing it down, by not letting myself loop. And I will tell myself, I'm that person who's like, okay, you have 24 hours to cry like a maniac. And then when you wake up, it's going to be different. You have to be over it permanently. So let it all out. And I think a lot of that in my world has been letting go of future. Like, we think that we're letting go of present all the time, but a lot of times I've created future in my mind, in relationships and jobs and projects. And when it doesn't go, it's really letting go of the beauty the possibility that I saw it could be. And that, for me, is one of the hardest things. And knowing that the universe wants to give us what we want.
Yeah, and if you look for miracles, you'll find them. When you say, this is what I want in a relationship, and it's such a list, and you met someone that you like, but they're missing this or this, so you start causing problems, you'll never find love. You'll never find happiness because you're too picky. It's like, let something fresh come in and explore it, and maybe what you think you want, you don't really want, or you don't need. Like, I need $1 million. I had a client say, I need $1 million or I won't be happy. Really? Why do you need $1 million and you can't be happy? Well, because I need to do this and that, and life is expensive, and I'm going to live another 30, 40 years. And it's like, what does that symbolize?
Right.
It was fascinating. You don't need $1 million. You need to find you. You need to find your soul and go in. And why do you need $1 million to be okay?
Right. And then what are you going to get out of that that's really going to make you... And that's the difference between pleasure and happiness.
Yeah, she said it's self-esteem and it's security.
And self-esteem and security... they come from here.
Yes, they do.
Here.
Yes, they do.
That is, if you don't have it here and here, you just can't buy that.
Yeah, and even if you have it, you'll lose it, you'll spend it, you'll use it in self-destructive ways. Something will happen. So, yes. So I want to know, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, I'm hoping it's great. I'm hoping that, I will leave this world having made some difference, some small difference, and that somehow I'll be remembered as somebody who inspired people, who helped people to help the world to become a better place. I just spent 9-10 months of my life working on the water crisis in California. Without water, we really don't have much going on. And it was about keeping California farming, keeping our food in the United States. 3 months of the Prop 1, trying to get funding to revamp our water systems here. That's something that is permanent. If I can do these kinds of things, and even touching the heart of a child, or really influencing somebody who they change their life and they go on to help other people. And I don't know. I guess I come out with that machine gun approach. Yeah. Like, if I just do enough good, one thing is bound to stick, And I think that I do have a really great influence on people's life. And I think that I'm somebody that people come to and they look at for inspiration, and they look at for perspective shifting. And I like that. And I'm young. I have to assume that I will get up to a lot bigger and a lot better and a lot more as I go forward.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's great that you have that image in your mind that this is what you want, and you want to do more and more, instead of I need to get this and I get that. It's like I want to give more and touch more lives.
No, and the more that I give, the happier and I am. The love is... Giving is endless, and love is endless. And I mean, the amount of people that I have in my life, I always joke, I say my army, my advisors, who don't tell me yes. When you do wonderful things for people, in my moments when I am dark, in my moments when I am sad, in my moments where I did just have the breakup, and I did just do, and I'm crying and I can't make myself food in that moment. Like, they will come, they will clean the kitchen, they will cook me food, they will hold me, and I don't have to ask. They can feel it. They will just come for me. And the love that I get to experience in my life, I tear up because it's so beautiful, and it's so profound, and it is so much more than I ever thought was going to happen for me. And I just couldn't be happier. I know that I have a lot more to do and a lot more that I want to. I want to see the world more, and I want to hear what people believe more, and I want to learn more languages, and there's so many things that I want to do. And I feel such an acute sense of time that every day, this is my life, this is my life. And every day I have to wake up and seize it because I don't really know. I don't really know how much longer I have, but with every moment, I want it to be something.
I love that. I love that. Amen to that.
Thank you.
Since we're on a spiritual, religious theme.
I'm sure you are the same.
Yes.
Thank you.
What a great interview. How fun.
And I find your work so inspiring. So I keep up with that, and I use your tools just as much in my life. And I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.